Now, in order to master mental skills and strength, we need to look at what's really going on when we are trying to achieve things. And there's some really interesting ways of looking at this. And I want you to think about the outcomes that you're trying to achieve as being just the tip of the iceberg above the water. Because as you know, in an iceberg, there is a visible amount of work, the iceberg, and that's only a really tiny part of it. But underneath the iceberg is the hidden part of it. And the hidden part of it is much larger. In fact, this could the bit that is visible might only be 10% of the iceberg. The other 90% of the iceberg is what's going on underneath. Now, when we are trying to achieve things, when we're trying to learn new skills, when we're trying to even just do our job, what we've got is outcomes. The outcomes that are happening are this little iceberg. It's the little bit that's actually popping up above the water, right? So that's our outcomes. But let's look at what's going on underneath the iceberg, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on, and these are where the mental skills lie in understanding what they are and what we need to do about it. So here's a quick overview. Now, one of the very first things that is going on under the iceberg is that we are telling ourselves a story. We are taking all the information that is happening to us, and we're telling ourselves a story. Briefly, human beings are storytelling machines. We take a bit of data and we take a bit of data and we string it together with a story. And it might go like this. I tried to collaborate with with someone in another department, and it didn't work. It was a poor outcome. It really didn't work very well. It was horrible. Therefore, I'm no good at collaborating with them. Or, therefore, they're a bunch of losers. Right? The outcomes didn't work out. And we take two bits of information and string them together. Now, when you take two bits of information and you string it together with other information that isn't necessarily true, the name for that is a conspiracy. And a conspiracy is a kind of a story that has two bits of data and a lot of gumph in between that doesn't really make any sense. So we are telling ourselves stories about the outcomes and what's going on, and we need to really look at those. They're really important because we are making up stories that aren't necessarily representing what's really going on. Now, the next level under there is our above and below the line thinking. It's how can I take responsibility for the outcome that I want? How can I take ownership? Because you have power, you have control. You don't have power and control over other people, you have power and control over yourself. Now, the other element that's going on underneath here is the behaviors. You have a code of honor. You have a way of doing things which is unique to you. Everyone comes to work with these codes of honor. They've learnt it. They've got a way of doing things, and it can be really challenging when we have different codes of honor clashing up against each other. And then finally, at the bottom of this iceberg is your beliefs, your values, your upbringing. What you were taught was okay to do and not do, and don't talk back to elders, or you must put your hand up and say something. Whatever they were, they are all contributing to this outcome up here. So let's have a look a little bit more deeply at it. Our beliefs, values, and upbringing, these represent the drivers and the motivators of your outcome, right? They have a profound effect. Now, your code of honor, your behavior, this is all about the rituals and the actions that you take every day. Now, your responsibility and ownership, this is about your thoughts, the way you think about who has control. Do I have control, or am I blaming someone else? Am I making excuses, and am I getting all emotional about it? And then finally, the storytelling. This is the stories and where the drama comes from. We are, as I mentioned, we are storytelling machines. We're creating these stories that aren't necessarily creating an accurate picture. Okay, let's have a look at what happens if we get this wrong, right? If we are clashing on our beliefs, if we are taking actions and based on rituals that aren't really working for us, or that our thinking is more about blame and excuse and drama, and we're creating stories that aren't really true for us, this is where poor outcomes often come. And the word I use for that is an unresourceful outcome. In other words, it's not good or bad, it's just not helping us get where we want to go. It's unresourceful. So let's look at what we need to do to make sure that we get a really good outcome. So the other way of looking at it is, how do we master better outcomes? So let's have a look at how we can flip these on their heads, right? So beliefs and values and upbringing, this is all about inspiring influences. Who are you surrounding yourself? What books are you reading? What videos are you watching? Who are you listening to? And are they driving you in the direction that you want to go? The next level is resourceful habits. Are you doing the right things to get the right outcomes as you go through trying to master these new skills? And let's look at the choices we're making. Could you choose something different? Could you choose responsibility and ownership rather than blame, excuse, and drama? And with storytelling, we're going to look at the problem that is. So rather than buying into the story that you are making up, let's look at what the problem really is. And the problem that is one of the exercises that we're going to do. It's a very powerful way of doing a self-assessment and getting to the root of what's really going on. So understanding there's some storytelling component, but what that's going to enable us to do is understand where the storytelling is and where the real problem is. Because when we know where the real problem is, we can make better choices. And to continue to make better choices, we can form resourceful habits. And to create more resourceful habits, we can surround ourselves with the influences that inspire us to master our new skills rather than continue to have unresourceful outcomes.